I got here, for those that know me, I was in Kansas City earlier this week and came down to just watch. And at the last minute, they asked me to come up and speak. So I'm going to apologize beforehand if I either say something stupid, skip the slides, or repeat anything that anybody else said, because that's the easiest way to do a talk, is just to come up and repeat what the smart people before me said. I will tell you, if you will, for a moment, to stop whatever you're doing and close your eyes and think about one thing over the last 2 days that you heard that mattered. And while you're thinking about that thing, I also want you to think about one person that you want to tell about that one thing that mattered. Because that's the beauty of Big Omaha. It's not us, the speakers. It's you. And it's what you take out of this and go home with. So, enough about you, now about me. So, I was at the very first Big Omaha and spoke, and the person before me was Jason Fried, and he got up on stage and he said, "Failure, I hate that word, the worst word ever." And then I walked up and I said, "My presentation's on failure, so I hate you, Noah." Here's so first couple things about this. All the photos I took or are of me, so just so you know, pretty proud of it. I own all the animals in all the photos, so I like those too. So happiness is for losers. It's the first lie I'll tell you today, and there'll probably be more. Every Saturday, I found this little place. I live in San Mateo, California, and I found this little donut shop, and it's a cool donut shop, fits about 20 people, and the donuts are fantastic. The coffee sucks, which is good for a donut shop. And if you spend more than $5, you spent way too much. And I was trying to lose weight, so I was doing 4-Hour Body, and 4-Hour Body has this cheat day, which I was really good at. The cheat day, really good at. The other stuff, not so much. And I would go every Saturday, and I would sit there, and there's no Wi-Fi. And I would have my pile of donuts, and I'd be cheating my ass off, and really good at it. And I kept thinking to myself, this is kind of fun. I should ask my friends to come. And slowly I asked one person, and then 2 people, and now all of a sudden, every Saturday, at about 10 a.m. in Belmont at Pilgrim Kitchen. If you're ever out there, you're welcome to come. About 10 or 12 of us get together, all startup founders, VCs, you know, cool people, and we talk and we laugh. And about a month ago, I bought a camera and started taking photos, and I took this photo. And the people in this photo go from Josh, who's a designer, doing really cool stuff, to Aaron Battalion, co-founder of Living Social, billion-dollar company, to Jason Festa, who's currently trying to get a startup up and running and raising money. And I took this photo and I looked at it when I got home, and I said, at that moment, all of that didn't matter. They're all smiling. Why, as startup people, as entrepreneurs, don't we smile more? Why is this a sad thing? At what point did we forget that happiness is actually what should be driving us? Or Noah, fulfillment. Why isn't that what drives us? Just pure happiness. And I started flipping through my photos, my old photos, and I found this photo of myself. I was probably about, I don't know, this tall, dog height. And this dog, by the way, is Yofi, was born the same time I was. And we actually grew up together. The dog's not 40. The dog's now no longer alive. But he used to walk around me when strangers would come in. They wouldn't let strangers come near me. But I remember that dog, and every time I remember that dog, I remember happiness. And I realized that after this moment, I spent the rest of my life lying about happiness. When people ask me, I hate the fact, and this is one thing that Noah, I'm not happy about, is that you said you never ask people how they are because you don't care. Why? Shouldn't we? We're people. We spend time every single day with other people. Shouldn't we care? And I realized that what I was doing is I was asking people, how are you? And they were responding with whatever, and my mindset was the same, I don't care. And I realized that that was about the last time that I actually was honest about being happy. And then I spent the rest of my life doing things like losing weight, being a cool swimmer guy. I was a fashion guy for a while. I started my own. It's Miha Chic. I was awesome. I wasn't really a fashion guy. That was in my bedroom. But I spent my life trying to figure out how to be happy. And I spent my life lying about being happy. And then as time accelerated and things were going well and companies were getting built and, blah, 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 I started to realize that all I was a lie. And so I turned to things that, you do when you're lying about being happy. Fun things, lots and lots of fun things. I'm trying really hard not to talk about the fact that I was a drug addict, but I guess I'm going to. But spent a lot of time doing a lot of fun stuff and spent a lot of money on it. And that's me as a drug addict. I was hot. Like, think about it. I went from that, the one on the right, to that. And I was sitting there. This is Christmas 2005. I didn't want to go home to my family because I preferred to go to Vail with my buddies and do tons of cocaine. At the time, millionaire. Lying about being happy. That was me. My drug dealer drove 3 hours to give me drugs. That's how much money I was spending on drugs at the time. That was me. And I realized at that point that I had to change something. And so I got sober, did all the fun things that ex-drug dealers do, and hold on, time out. Nah, dealer. That was a bad drug addict dude, and I stopped. And one day I literally just decided that I had two choices in my life. And everything I think in life comes back to the point that we have two choices, right? That fork in the road. My fork in the road was pretty simple at the time. It was die or stop doing drugs. And I guess luckily I decided to not stop doing drugs. But this was my life. And here I was helping build companies, raising tens of 20s of 30s of hundreds of millions of dollars. And I would sit in my backyard, drained. I would see the world in black and white. And I realized that the person I was lying to the most about not being happy or about being happy was myself. That's what we do really well as entrepreneurs. We lie to ourselves. We believe our own bullshit better than anyone, right? We know the exact words to say. It's why, and I'm gonna get in trouble for this, I know. Self-love is the best because we know ourselves better than anyone else. I'm sorry, don't tweet that. So I decided that I needed to change my life. I stopped doing drugs, which was great. I helped build companies, which was fun, right? I was in this fake world of not being, happy. The other thing I realized, by the way, too, let me go back 2 seconds. About there, the swimming guy, I also realized much, much later that I actually was bipolar too, which is a whole nother thing. Drug addict, bipolar, totally a fucked up dude, but really hot. Look at that fashion photo. Really hot. And I was drained. So I decided things had to change. My brain, this is a great painting by Pat Chatham. This was my brain, this was my life, right? I was just on a sea that was going crazy. It sits in my house, I look at it every day. It reminds me that this was what I was living. While everybody else saw this happy, super fun dude speaking and blah, 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 it wasn't me. I realized that I was getting crushed by crushing it. I realized that the only thing in my life was when people asked me how I was, I told them about my company. I never told them about me. Think about it. When somebody asks you how you are, what is your reaction? Do you ever actually tell them how you are? I started to do it, actually. I started in emails recently. I would get emails from people, hey, how are things going? And I'd be like, well, I'm starting to work out now, lost a little weight, pretty happy, dog's happy, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden the email responses became, that's cool, let me tell you a little bit about me. And all of a sudden we'd have these exchanges that had nothing to do with the company. And we'd never once shorthand it and say, I'm killing it, I'm crushing it. This is killing us. Crushing it, killing us as founders. We read these books, we listen to these people, we think to ourselves, that's what we want. How many times, in all honesty, when somebody says, how are you? You go, I'm just crushing it. How many times? How many times have you been like, how's the business going? Killing it. Your business is not killing it. Everybody's business fucking sucks. And some days it's good, right? My job blows, except for right now. But what I'm going to tell everybody is it's awesome. So what if we change that? What if we change the entire dynamic? What if we sat back and said, instead of worrying about how my job is and how my company's doing and how cool it is and all the other stuff, what if I actually started to just care? We're told as founders that our job is to have passion. What if I had passion about myself? How would that change in your world? Think about it. What if you actually cared about yourself? Now you may think that you do, and you might. You might think that you're happy. You could be. And that's awesome. And if you are, how about if you reach out to somebody else? How many times have you reached across to somebody else and asked them how they were happy, and when they told you that they were not, your reaction was, how can I help you? Is that our fear? Do we not ask somebody how they are because we're afraid that it's going to be a burden upon us to help them? I don't want to be burdened by their problems. Bullshit. That's why we live. That's why we sit 5 feet away from one another, is to help each other and to be part of it. And now I know I grew up outside of Fort Collins in Colorado, and I live in California, so I can be considered somewhat of a hippie. I did smoke weed one point in my life. A lot of weed. But let's just say I don't remember how much. But I did get a law passed in Colorado. What if we changed things? What if what we did is we stopped thinking our startups were us? What if we were told that the one thing that we've been told in our entire life was a lie, that the harder you work, the better you go. The harder you work, the more you make. What if we were told that you work less and you could do more? And I thought about this a lot while I sat in my backyard with the gray, and I couldn't see color, and I thought, maybe how harder can I work? I physically can't work harder. I'm 365 pounds. I can't walk a block. I'm sitting in front of a computer so often that my legs are going numb. I can't work harder, and I'm not getting what I want. What if I did it the opposite way? And I start to think to myself, well, what is the number one thing that drives the company early on? The founder, me. And if I'm not 100%, how the hell can I drive a company 150%? What if I were to turn it around? And instead of saying our startups are us, what if I'm my startup? What if it's me first? What if I'm the one to take it where it needs to go? Think about it. Think about that for 1 minute. What if we were to stop putting our companies first? Right now, all your stomach's turned. Ooh, that's not what we do. We're from the Midwest. We work hard. Right? My dad's from the Midwest. I get to make Midwest jokes. Albion, Michigan. Woo! But what if we were to turn it around? What if we were to work less? Anyone play golf? Yeah, I don't golf, but I like to drive the cart. But one of the cool things, it's really fun. You can bend a bar in the back and it goes faster. But anyway, in golf, what do they teach you? The slower you swing, the further the ball goes. What if the same dynamic worked with startups? So I started to do that. I started to change how I looked at things. It's the other thing that I realized. My friend Jody Sherman committed suicide a few months ago. And when Jody died, Jody had a tattoo on his wrist that said, "I am awesome." And I saw somebody post about it and write about it and about how cool it was that Jody had this tattoo that said, "I am awesome." And as a person that has struggled with depression and other things, I know why he had that tattoo. That tattoo was to remind him that he was awesome. It wasn't him being funny. It wasn't him being quippy. It was to remind him that he was awesome. How bad is our world when we have to remind ourselves that we are doing amazing things? We are creating stuff out of nothing. We are creating jobs. We are creating new products. We are creating things that people never imagined before. The fact that there is this microphone that I can speak through is because somebody created it. That there's an internet that's going, the keynote was created. Maybe that's not so awesome, but you know what I mean. Somebody made it. We are awesome. But we live this crushing it life, this killing it life. Awesome became only skin deep. So I tattooed that on myself because that's what I have to remember. That when somebody says to me, "How are you doing?" my answer is honest. It isn't just awesome. When they ask me, "Am I happy?" I give them an answer. And when I ask you that question, I want you to tell me the same thing. That was on the Wall Street Journal front page of the business section. That's my dog, Taylor. That beautiful man is me. That's a treadmill desk, so I actually walk on it while I'm typing. And I realize that, like, I live in a shithole. Like, look at that refrigerator. Like, I rental. But I always say I live in a doghouse and they let me stay. That was a time where the picture was taken because we were getting offers to sell graphically and somebody wanted to buy it. And we decided not to sell it. And we decided not to sell it because I had a moment of epiphany where I was standing on that treadmill and I'd gone to play basketball with a buddy of mine and I had twisted my ankle. And for those that know me, I'm really into quantified self. I actually have 4 quantified self items on me. I have a Jawbone, a Nike Fuel Band, a Fitbit, and I had a Basis watch, but it ran out of battery, so that son of a bitch is back in the hotel room. And I'm sitting there and I played basketball and I twist my ankle really bad and I could barely walk. And I get home and I look at my fuel band and my goal every day was 3,000 points and I was at 2,700. So I sat on this treadmill and I started to walk and I started to weep from the pain. And I'm sitting there weeping from the pain and thinking to myself, why am I killing myself for some arbitrary points? Like, that just seems stupid. And at the same time, I'm thinking about selling my company. And I want to sell this company not because it's not doing well and not because I want to make a bunch of money, but because it literally is killing me. I want out. And I started to think about that. And this is again where I went back this whole path of putting yourself in front of the company and whatnot. And that treadmill, when the Wall Street Journal guy came to take photos, I said, I want that treadmill in the photo because that thing saved my life. And I want a picture of my dog because my dog saved my life. And I want a picture of that refrigerator. No, I'm kidding. Because there's good food in that refrigerator. The poster behind me says, "Let's make better mistakes tomorrow." It's one of my favorite sayings. So I created rules for myself, and I'm not a big rule guy, and I know that a lot of times on these talks you get like, here's the 5 ways to make a business, and I don't mean any of this. These are simply things that I've learned for myself. Number 1 for me is I'm selfish. I put myself before everybody. And here's the interesting thing that I learned. If you care for yourself, other people will care for you too. Think about that for a second. If you care for yourself, other people will care for you too. That's not what we're taught. We're taught that if we care for others, that's the good thing to do. So I'm selfish. I think about myself first, always. And what I learned, on top of the fact that other people will care for me, is that I actually like being happy. And that when I'm happy, I'm not a dick. And my employees started to say to me, I can see a huge change in you. And I'm like, wow, I didn't realize I was such a jerk. They're like, let me tell you. But, so be selfish. Gift yourself. Every morning, this is the best thing. If you don't take anything away from my presentation, this is the one thing, right? Hopefully you took the fashion photos, and fashion photographers will be calling me. But if you don't, this is the thing that has changed my life unequivocally. Every morning, I set 2 alarms. One at 7 a.m., one at 7:30. I take my cell phone, I turn it off, I put it in another room. The alarm goes off at 7, and I go, bink, and I go back to sleep. The first thing I do every single morning is I give myself 30 minutes. What's the one thing we don't have enough of? Time. And the first thing I do is I give myself some. Anyone here ever tried to lose weight? One of the best things, you don't have to raise your hands, you've all tried to lose weight. The best thing about losing weight, the best thing to do if you're trying to lose weight is eat within the first 30 minutes of waking up. Why? Because it tells your body that you're not going to starve. It's amazing. First thing you do in the morning, 30 minutes after you wake up, eat something, body doesn't know, body knows that it's going to be taken care of. Why isn't the same thing for our souls and our brains? First thing I do when I wake up in the morning is I tell my body, I tell my brain, you're going to be taken care of today, be chill. And I am. Best thing I've ever done. After 7:30 when I wake up, by the way, you don't have to sleep for that 30 minutes. You can do whatever you want for that 30 minutes. But make sure it's 100% selfish. Take that as you will. If you're not, when you wake up in the morning, and I learned this from somebody else, if you're not when you wake up in the morning reaching for yourself or your significant other, what the fuck's wrong with you? If the first thing you do is reach for email, the first thing you're doing is you're giving yourself to somebody else. If you're not reaching for yourself or your significant other the moment you wake up, there's a problem. There's a literally, and I use that word too much, but it's not figurative, it really is literal, problem. I get up after 7:30, I go outside, I let the dogs out, I feed the animals, sometimes I walk on the treadmill, I take a shower, right? And I feed myself, animals first, then me, or else they'll annoy me. I take a shower, and then I check my email. Probably about an hour and 15 minutes after waking up, and guess what I learned? The world didn't end. You're not that important. Your employees, your friends, your family, everybody else, if it was important, they would call you. You're just not that important. I'm not that important. The world doesn't end. So please, forget everything else, but just try that. I did it with my friend Esther, and she gave me an email about a week later, and she said, I never knew how attached I was to that phone. She's like, I literally had, there's my word again. I literally had shivers when I went to bed because my phone wasn't near me. How sad is that? Right now, if I asked you all to walk outside, put your phones on the ground, and come back in, and promise that I would pay for any that broke, give you all $500, so you don't have to worry about all that stuff, how many of you could sit here still, knowing your phone was 15 yards away and that you couldn't look at it? About a third of you. It's kind of scary, right? I purposely now turn my phone off, put it away. I actually want to get to a point where I don't carry a phone at all. But that's me. So gift yourself 30 minutes in the morning. Boom, greatest thing ever. Here's my other thing I do, which I've actually turned out to love. That's my dog Taylor again, by the way. One of my favorite photos I've ever taken. Fail purposefully. Find things that you know you're going to suck at and do them in order to find the things within them that you enjoy. The journey to success is rife with failure. If you can deal with the failures, it gets easier to deal with the successes. So I started taking photos. I've never learned how to take photos, I just take them. Sometimes they're good, and I show you the ones that are, and I throw out the 40 billion that aren't. I started to swim. I was a competitive swimmer. Remember that photo? I won't go back to it, but it's pretty. I was a competitive swimmer in high school. I stopped swimming because I went from 178 to 325 pounds. And I started to swim again, and I started to note that little things, like the way my hand went through, or my kick, or the speed, or things like that, and I started to fall in love with the pieces, the minutia of swimming, not how fast did I go. Instead of taking that one metric, I took minor metrics. Instead of taking the journey, I took the steps and got excited about the steps. I do yoga now. Like, I'm the fat guy in the back, right? And I do Bikram, which is like sweating. And by the way, yoga is really judgmental. Like, they talk about how it's all like Zen and shit, and you go back there and they're like, fat guy, go sit in the back. And you're like, come on, moms, like, leave me alone. It's the worst. But, and Bikram's even, I don't know if anyone's ever done Bikram, but it's like the super hot one. And the teachers are mean. They're like, your hand's not right. I'm like, I'm 325 pounds. Like, fuck you. But, anyway, sorry. But fail purposefully. I love it. I constantly am looking for things now that I know I'm not going to be good at to find the things within it that I actually truly enjoy. Try it. You know, go fight your fear of failure. You know, all the stuff that Noah said. My favorite slide. My dad used to have a saying, which was, if the TV's broke, make sure it's plugged in. We as entrepreneurs, because we think big, we think about these gigantic ideas, we also make everything complicated. There is an easy solution to everything. Find easy. That one's easy. Get out of your house. Start accepting the party invites you're getting, the trips that you never went on. Take your kids to the park, run around with your dogs, go do some yoga. You can laugh at people in yoga. You know, people fart in yoga? I think that's really kind of cool. Because they celebrate the midsection. Join life. Your startup isn't everything. Your job isn't everything. Your company isn't everything. Your family isn't everything. You are everything. Go join life. Enjoy yourselves. This is my friend Mark Hemian. He painted that for me. BeHappyTree.com, I think. They're fantastic. They're like $500. They're pretty cheap. Go buy 1,000 of them. Make him happy so that he doesn't have to work at YouTube anymore. He helped design sort of the view page of YouTube and the front page of YouTube, and was telling me that, you know, it's weird to design a site that 3 billion people see every day, because you get like 2 billion people that are like, you suck. So he does that to be happy. Be happy. It's not hard to be happy. You just have to remember that it's okay. And that's what's most important. That's when I realized that the lie was no longer a lie. That was when I realized it was okay to be happy. And I don't mean to be all therapy-ish about you and psychoanalyzing and all that crap. But what I do know is that happy is okay. And we forget that because our jobs are to work hard. Be happy. And this is my favorite. This is my cat, Kaylin. Get a pal. We constantly are talking about how hard it is to find a technical co-founder, a person to work with, a business partner, blah, 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 blah. And what was awesome, if you listen to what Noah had to say, was that Chad, hi Chad, was his pal, was a peer. Find a peer. The greatest thing about that donut, I almost said vacation. I don't know why it's a vacation. But the donut meeting we do, or the donut get-together we do, is that we're all peers. And the problems that Aaron had in helping scale a billion-dollar business are the same problems that Jason has in trying to get his business off the ground, or Marcus has in trying to find a company to invest in, or, you know, I do in trying to get skinny. Like, we all have commonality. Find a pal, a real pal, a peer. Not somebody who works for you, not somebody you're maybe married to. That'd be cool. I've never been married, so they could be your pal, I guess. But a pal. Find a pal. And after I've given you all my rules, this is really what the most important thing is. Learn the rules like a pro and break them like an artist. Don't forget that we are artists. We're developing and we're working in a medium that nobody's able to do. We work in a medium of ideas. We create things out of thin air. We see things that people don't see. We get people excited about stuff that they would never be excited about. Take a photo, it disappears in 10 minutes. Sweet! 10 seconds. Mine are 10 minutes because they're special. Think about it. Think about all the companies out there that have been created, even non-tech companies. Somebody had to sell that vision. We are artists. If you don't treat yourself like an artist, you don't put yourself first, you don't believe in the vision that you put forth, you will be unhappy. And being unhappy is the worst. It leads to horrible, horrible things. And all I want you to do is to be happy. So, thanks, Jeff.
Give it up for Micah, Baldwin. If you guys have questions, come on over to one of these microphones. We have a couple minutes for questions, guys.
Nice.
Right here.
Questions?
Come on up.
Darn it. I hate Q&A. Hi.
Micah,
what's your name, by the way?
I'm Chris Beecham.
How are you?
Doing well.
Good.
One of the things I thought that you said was really interesting was fail purposefully. And I would just want to know if you could say a little more on kind of like how to structure that and sort of how to better fail purposely.
What's something you've wanted to do in your life that you've never done?
Just like, I want to go travel to all the continents.
Okay. So, why don't you travel to Oklahoma to start? Right? That's the idea. You want to travel to all the continents, cool. That's it's the old saying about eating an elephant one scoop at a time, right? Like, find something that you know is going to be astronomically difficult to do, and then look for things within. Build a map of all the continents you want to go to in the order in which you want to do them, and be excited for the fact that you're able to do that. Build a Google Earth trip, right? Like, find little things that you know you can do that all lead towards this goal of something bigger. And if you do that, then you get excited about little things, and all of a sudden you're down the path. Like, I'm swimming now 40% faster than I was when I started, right? Like, my form is way better than it was, and I just didn't quit. And that's the key, right? Failing purposely puts you in a mind state of not quitting because you don't quit things that you're successful at.
Thanks.
Sure. And if I can help you anyway, please let me know.
Hi there, Micah. I'm Brian.
Hi, how are you?
Since we're getting all philosophical, why is it that we have to make things so complicated and go through all this hard shit to get to the stuff that we knew as kids?
How are you doing?
Actually, I started a new job yesterday, so pretty good.
That's awesome.
Woo!
Yeah. What are you doing?
Creativity and strategy development.
Oh, I don't even know what that is, but it sounds cool.
And sales. Sales are good too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Ask me the question again. I was so excited about this new job that I forgot.
Yeah, so we make everything complicated and go through all these hard times to get to these, get these revelations that on the surface seem so simple, but there's something up here that's
the concept of the struggle, philosophically, right? Because I'm trying to be philosophical.
Right.
The concept of the struggle is something that's very important if you look at the Bible, if you look at history in general, is we love true Hollywood stories. We love rags to riches. We love the person that succeeds and then fails and then succeeds again, right? That's our culture. It's what we love. We love the fact that people succeed despite failure and struggle. And then when somebody just succeeds, like never has a struggle, we're like, fuck you, you're a dick, right? Like we hate those people. We're like, that's too easy. Stupid Warren Buffett, like, right? That was raw. But I think it's because we're also taught too, like, the more you struggle, the more sweeter the darker the juice berry, some shit like that. But it's like, you know what I mean? It's all that kind of stuff. I think the problem is that because we've been taught that struggle needs to precede success, that we now look towards struggle, and it's easier to struggle than succeed. Our natural state is we're taught, like when we're babies, our natural state is happiness. And at some point we're taught that struggle is where our natural state is, and when we're not struggling, we're like, ooh, this is too easy, something's wrong, right? And then so mentally we're like, well, let's struggle more. Why don't we, I don't know, let's add cocaine to this would be awesome, right? Like it becomes that kind of world. And I think that the thing that it's forced me to change is that, you know, I've not struggled less than some, more than others, but that at the end of the day I realized that struggling is not fun. And struggling is hard, and it hurts people, and you cry, and you're bleeding, right? Like, struggle is hard. Why not struggle? Why not just check if the TV's not plugged in and focus in on that? And I think if you do that, all of a sudden that becomes your learned trait and your stasis, right? And then you start living in this world of, it's cool, everything's great, right? And it is because it is. So, thank you. Good luck on your job, that's awesome.
We'll do one more question.
Okay, sorry, I talked too much.
Hey.
How are you? What's your name?
My name is Micah, spelled the same as yours. Just
My name's pronounced properly.
Yeah, right. People call me by your name, so yeah. I'm cool with that.
How you doing?
I'm tired, but other than that, I'm really good.
But like fulfilled tired, or like tired?
Yeah, my basement flooded with 700 gallons of water this morning, dude. So I was up all night.
I have like a lot of room at my hotel. I have a key. I'm not bullshitting. Like,
I'm bringing my wife and my 2 kids, man. We're coming over.
Please.
Hey, okay. So I like the failure piece that you're talking about. You talked about that a little last year too. So that's really cool. So like if you're looking to say hire some people, you know, bring some people onto your team, how do you evaluate that in other people? How do you look at other people's failures and say whether, hey, that's good, that's great, they went for it, or wow, they just suck, they can't do it. You know, how do you evaluate that in others?
That's solid. So there's 2 things I look at and I'm going to be fast, so I apologize. But one is how curious are they? Right. One of the things I think is awesome about my animals is those guys are just curious about things, and they're willing to like get stung on the nose, and that's kind of cool. And when I was a kid, probably like 12 years old, I was a really good soccer player and swimmer. We should put that picture back up. It's an awesome picture. But and I looked at the burners on a stove, and I was curious when you turn them red hot and then turned them to black, whether they got hot and then cold immediately. Like I didn't know how quickly it got cold. So I turned it on red hot and I turned it on black, and I still have a scar here from the 3rd degree burns I had. And I actually look for that in somebody. Are they willing to burn themselves, right, trying something interesting? And what I do is I tell them, don't ask for permission, break shit, right? Don't come crying to me. Don't give me a problem, give me a solution, right? So those are things. The other thing that we do, we tell everybody when we hire them, is I have this 30-day awesome rule, which is if I hire awesome people, they should be awesome, and if they're not awesome within the first 30 days, I fire them. And then people say, well, how do you know if they're awesome? I'm like, it's like porn, you just know, right? Like, if at some point during that 30 days I go, that was awesome, your job's safe, right? It's pretty simple, and we know what awesome is. It's not like it's I don't need some algorithm. Somebody does something cool, you're like, sweet. You did one thing that I never even thought of. That's awesome, cool. So that's how I focus on it, right? I want curiosity, I want their willingness to break stuff, and then I give them 30 days to prove it. Thanks. Thank you, everybody.
Give it up for Micah Baldwin.